Garland cannot be prosecuted for contempt. Bannon got prosecuted. Navarro got prosecuted. Why not Merrick Garland?
We have the elements of the crime, knowingly keeping, knowingly disclosing, giving that information to someone who wasn't allowed to get it. We have all that, and yet the special counsel said he would not recommend charges for President Biden.
The Oversight and Judiciary Committees issued duly authorized legal subpoenas to Attorney General Garland for a certain set of documents, including the audio recordings of Special Counsel Hur's interview with President Biden.
Merrick Garland held in contempt by Congress. Is he going to show up and respond to the congressional demands? There was a subpoena that went out for the Robert Hur tapes, and he's not giving them over to them. So now contempt is appropriate. And they just dropped that out today. We had the final vote. Here's what it sounded like. Our friend Benny Johnson clipped this one for us. 216 to 207. Here's what it sounded like.
This vote, the yeas are 216, the nays are 207. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Garland held in contempt for refusing to comply with congressional subpoenas. Is he going to be prosecuted? Is he going to refer himself for criminal prosecution for violating a subpoena? Let's see what CNN has. They vote to hold him in contempt. They held him in contempt over the Robert Hur tapes. After the vote, we have Garland who came out. He said it was deeply disappointing that this House of Representatives has turned a serious congressional authority into a partisan weapon. All right, let's see what he says. Did he actually come out and speak on this? Garland defends himself. I wonder if there's any video of that or if he just released a statement, because he's been held in contempt. Now, today's vote disregards the constitutional separation of powers. The Justice Department needs to protect its investigations and the substantial amount of information we have provided to the committees. Democratic lawmakers say Republicans don't have a legitimate legislative purpose for the recordings. Got it. So that's the story. Now, Garland obviously not happy about this and reacting poorly, but we had some other reaction from people like the House Judiciary. They said, breaking, the House of Representatives holds him in contempt for failing to turn over the audio tapes of Robert Hur's interview of President Biden. And Comer was out with a statement, fresh. He says, House Republicans rightfully held AG Garland accountable today for his failure to comply with lawful subpoenas. Congress cannot serve as a necessary check on the presidency if the executive branch is free to defy duly authorized legal subpoenas. Says he's defied us. His failure to comply with our lawful subpoenas from Oversight and Judiciary. His refusal to provide the audio begs the question, what is the Biden administration trying to hide? Their decision to keep the audio recordings behind lock and key establishes a clear pattern of obstruction by his DOJ. This is unacceptable, and the House of Representatives is now in a better position to deliver the transparency and accountability that the American people demand and deserve. And so we got some other clips from earlier in the day from when they were speaking about this, but I wanted to go through this article because this is what the media is saying already. That Garland cannot be prosecuted for contempt. Bannon got prosecuted. Navarro got prosecuted. Why not Merrick Garland? And by the way, who wrote this memo? Where did this memo come from? Oh, the DOJ wrote it. Wait a minute. The DOJ wrote a memo saying you can't prosecute the DOJ? Okay, should we believe that? So an internal DOJ memo argued that Merrick Garland would be protected from prosecution. Why? It's a 57-pager. It was obtained by The Hill. It lays out the case for Garland's refusal. They say he already has a transcript. The OLC, which operates as a legal advisor, wrote that no administration official has been prosecuted for failing to comply with a subpoena when the president has claimed executive privilege. What? What are you talking about? Navarro and Bannon. Who did this research? For nearly 7 decades and across presidential administrations of both parties, the executive branch has taken the position that the criminal contempt of Congress statute does not apply to executive branch officials who do not comply with a congressional subpoena based on a presidential assertion of executive privilege. That's insane. Bannon is literally going to prison for that. Consistent with this long-standing position, no U.S. attorney has pursued criminal contempt charges against an maybe because he's not an active executive official. The memo then lays out in detail the response that Congress is likely to get from Justice Department if it chooses to recommend contempt against Garland, which they did. Republicans have fumed over the fact that he's not turning over the audio because it's a cover-up. The audio recording, they say, will not reveal any information relevant to your committee's needs, and that's not already available in the transcripts. And so he's resisting even the transcripts because Joe Biden is so gone. done. So the DOJ is affirming that they are not prosecutable, which is just perfect for a totally corrupt entity and institution. Here was Jim Jordan earlier in the day explaining why this is so important and why Garland and the DOJ need to be brought to heel.
Last September, the Speaker of the House announced that the House of Representatives would be entering an impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight work. On December 13th, the full House of Representatives voted to do just that, to formalize that. This is a power that is exclusively resides in the House of Representatives and one of the most important powers that we have as an institution and as a body. Robert Hur, on page 1 of his special counsel report, said Joe Biden knowingly kept classified information, Joe Biden knowingly disclosed classified information, and he disclosed that information to someone who wasn't allowed to get it. Page 231, he told us why Joe Biden did those things. He said Joe Biden had strong motivations for ignoring classified procedures because he was writing a book for which he got paid $8 million. So we have motive, an $8 million motive. We have the elements of the crime, knowingly keeping, knowingly disclosing, giving that information to someone who wasn't allowed to get it. We have all that, and yet the special counsel said he would not recommend charges for President Biden. We know we're entitled to all the evidence, and that includes the best evidence, which is this audio tape. That's why we sent the subpoena. The Attorney General has been clear he's not going to give that information to us, so that's why we have the contempt resolution. We assume this is going to wind up in court, but we think our case is strong, and we think that we will prevail. But step one is to pass the resolution holding the Attorney General in contempt for not giving the House of Representatives, the body who's in an impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight responsibilities, not giving us the best evidence. Finally, I would just say this. We think the privilege has already been waived. We think when they gave us the transcript, they've waived the privilege. And understand that there have already been times where the transcript that we've received from the White House doesn't match up with what was actually said by the President of the United States. And so, again, for all those reasons, we think we need this information, and that's why the resolution will be on the floor today.
So Jim Jordan and the Republicans got that done today. We had some other comments just so we can see what happened before we got the vote. Elise Stefanik was out. I think she's still on the short list for VP. She was also speaking out on this topic today. Here's what she said.
House Republicans are honored to host at our special political conference President Donald J. Trump, where we will discuss how Republicans will work together to save America from Joe Biden.
Trump's coming to visit Congress tomorrow.
And far-left Democrats' failed leadership that has caused skyrocketing and painful Bidenflation, the historic Biden border crisis, surging violent crime, a weakened national security, and chaos around the world. This week on the floor, House Republicans are delivering on our promise to hold the Biden administration accountable when we bring to the floor our resolution to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with our subpoena and release the audio recordings of Joe Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur. It's time for Merrick Garland to stop stonewalling and release the Biden tapes. Additionally, we will bring to the floor the National Defense Bill for FY25. And as a senior member of the House Armed Services Committee, I'm proud to have helped craft this legislation, securing critical wins for my home district.
All right, great. So she's securing more pork for her district, great. And let's also listen to Comer and to see what Comer has to say. So Trump will be there in Washington tomorrow. That should be pretty curious. Comer was out speaking, and this is what he said on the floor before the resolution passed. Here's Comer.
Gentleman from Ohio, for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the resolution. This is not a complicated matter. The Oversight and Judiciary Committees issued duly authorized legal subpoenas to Attorney General Garland for a certain set of documents, including the audio recordings of Special Counsel Hur's interview with President Biden. The Attorney General has refused to produce these audio recordings. Unlike what my Democratic colleagues keep claiming, this is not just Republicans who need these recordings for their oversight duties. Media outlets, including the AP, CBS, CNN, NBC, and the Washington Post, among others, have filed suit to get these same audio recordings
where's
as
the
well.
media been? Don't they want to hear
Because the media, like everyone else, knows there's no substitute for a recording of an interview. Not a transcript, not a summary, not the Attorney General's judgment that Congress doesn't need it. The Oversight Committee's investigation of these classified documents has already revealed that the White House's official timeline of events regarding these classified materials left out very important details. For instance, White House employees were entering the Penn Biden Center and moving documents months before the discovery of the classified materials by President Biden's personal attorneys in November 2022. One of those employees was former White House counsel Dana Remus. We issued a subpoena for Mrs. Remus's deposition, but the White House has blocked Mrs. Remus from speaking to the Oversight Committee. The White House has also blocked other White House employees who visited the Penn Biden Center before November 2022 from speaking to us.
to clear out the records?
What is the Biden administration trying to hide?
Evidence
Attorney
of
General Merrick
criminality?
Garland's refusal to produce this evidence establishes a clear pattern of obstruction by the DOJ to cover up President Biden's wrongdoing. President Biden has lied to the American people about his mishandling of classified documents. He has repeatedly denied not knowing about or being involved in his family's influence peddling schemes, which the Oversight Committee can now show has raked in $18 million from foreign individuals and entities for the Biden family members, including President Biden himself. He also met with nearly all his family's foreign associates. President Biden's Department of Justice appears to be taking every step to insulate him from the consequences, whether it's hiding these audio recordings or attempting to give Hunter Biden a sweetheart plea deal to shield Joe Biden from facing accountability for his role in his family's influence peddling schemes. This is unacceptable. The House of Representatives cannot serve as a necessary check on the presidency if the executive branch is free to ignore the House's subpoenas. I urge my colleagues to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress, and I yield back.
And they did that. So shout out to the Republicans today, to Comer, to Jordan, to Stefanik, and to Johnson. They got it done. They held him in contempt, and it passed by a pretty large margin. It wasn't even really close. So good news that there's accountability on this. So my friends, we're going to be here continuing to cover this. Hopefully you join us as we do. Would love it, love it, love it if you subscribed, and really would love it even more if you liked this video and shared it with a friend or family member so that they could see what the heck is going on. They need to know about this stuff, and the only person who can educate them and bring them aboard is you, my friend. So thanks for sharing the video. Thanks for joining us on the next video that we have queued up for you. If you like this one, you're going to love this one as soon as it comes up. I can't wait to see you over there and back here on the next one.